Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Primetime with Alex Stein. I'm your host, Alejandro Stein, and we have a great guest, an esteemed politician, the one, the only, Colton Moore from the state of Georgia. And Colton, I appreciate you coming on. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay, Alex. My hand is no longer purple. It's no longer bleeding. And, we're back in the weight room.
You are. So you... and I guess I might as well pull the video up because it was such a viral video, obviously, and it's not a really good video. But this is you, on the floor, and Brian Kemp is the governor, and he's speaking right now. What is he doing? Is he certifying something? What is he actually doing in this? When this is going on right here.
So this is the State of the State address. So it's a joint session. Basically, every legislature in the country gets to hear from their executive, their governor, or in the case of the United States Congress, the president. And the executive lets the legislature know, hey, these are the problems, these are the things we're working on. And that gives the legislature the ability to vote, and focus on things that are in benefit to the state. So this is the State of the State, happens everywhere, all across the country. The House and the Senate come together to listen to the governor speak. But the Speaker of the House, this tyrant, this guy who wants to be, big king, he says he doesn't like what I'm saying in a previous legislative session, so I'm no longer allowed in the House chamber. But
but real quick, Colton, I got to call time out. How is that possible if you're an elected official? Why? I mean, how does that work?
It's not possible. Flag on the play, Alex. There's probably about 5 or 6 constitutional violations that you see right there in that video. Like, it is against Georgia law to impede a member of the legislature if they're en route to a session, right?
It's like January 6th. No, I'm saying they have that at all levels. No, that's a serious thing. If you impede them, that's a crime. But that is kind of crazy, Colton.
Yeah, it's also against the Constitution in Georgia to arrest a legislator for a misdemeanor crime. The only reason you can arrest the legislator is for treason, a felony, or a breach of the peace. But they arrested me for obstruction, which is completely an unconstitutional charge. I was assaulted in front of 18 state troopers. There's usually about 2 state troopers at that door, but they knew I was coming, so they brought in 18. What you can't really see in the video is there's all these black curtains to keep the general public from seeing what is going on in this, what is normally a very public area. They also told members of the media they weren't allowed back, but the media, man, they must have been trained by someone like you, because they just all crammed in there. They herded in there and got this video that you see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really unfortunate video for you because, you are an elected politician. You don't want to be pushed, and, it's just not a good look. But if I'm being fair, and let's just, because I already like you, Colton, I can already tell you're a good guy. It's bad how he pushed you, but I feel like there's a little LeBron James. Am I wrong, Colton? There's a little LeBron James, and that's a little LeBron. Your arm's a little, I mean, maybe it's black and blue, but I have a little LeBron James. You seem like a tough guy. I feel like you would have kicked their ass. But you didn't want to obviously push him because they would have charged you with assault?
That's right. What I think they ultimately had me set up for was, my hands were behind me, and I call those my Fonnie Willis hands. Because you remember,
that's what it looked like. It looked like you were just trying to not touch them, and that's why you're a little vulnerable. That's why you fell down. But it's just,
right.
You couldn't even really protect yourself. So you call your Fannie Willis hands? Is that what you said?
That's right. Because had I put my hands up here, they would have charged me with felony assault, and they would have sent me to Fonnie Willis. And I was the guy calling for the special session to defund and investigate Fonnie Willis when she went after Donald Trump and the 18 others. So,
isn't that why they hate you, because of Fannie Willis? I thought that's why you're famous, because you've gone after her, correct?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, articles of impeachment were sitting in the House of Representatives, and this speaker who banned me wouldn't do anything with it. Right? He's a never Trumper. He's a rhino Republican. It's very obvious that when you start holding these corrupt elected officials accountable, they start showing their cards a little bit. And but get this. The guy who threw me on the ground, he's the general counsel to the speaker. And so people said, hey, this is an attorney, this guy with the big California hairdo. You see that guy? Guess what?
Mm.
He's not a member of the bar of Georgia. He's a member of the California bar, but he's never passed the Georgia bar. So he's basically practicing law without a license in our state and throwing elected leaders on the ground. Such a
Well,
cabal.
and Colton, you know this because I can already just tell by talking to you and seeing everything about you and what I read about you is that you are, would like to go against the system. You are kind of the real conservative that is anti-government or doesn't want the government. That's, I guess, the impression that I get. But these people are such bootlickers, and especially these rhinos that say they're conservative, yet they limit people from coming to speak or coming to see, the State of the Union or whatever the version of this address is. My point is, it's all a uniparty, Colton. So how do we defeat that? Because I'm sure you're up there, you're getting damn arrested for just being, for lack of a better word, black sheep. I mean, is that fair? Is that a fair statement? I don't mean that as a negative term, but isn't that really why you're getting thrown and arrested and thrown out of buildings like this?
Well, I mean, Alex, you know as well as I do, when you're America first, when you're Georgia first, in my case, these rhinos get really nervous. All right. But people don't underestimate a rhino. They are big, sweaty, gnarly creatures, and they have a lot of force and a lot of power. So if you're going to get out there and you're going to wrangle these guys, I mean, I've wrestled yearlings in the sage grass. I'm sure your fellow Texans understand what that's all about. But
I understand what sagegrass is, but what's yearlings? I'm from Dallas, so we don't have yearlings.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you get a little outside of Dallas, they're
I'm a city slicker. No way, dude. I'm from Highland Park High School with Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw. No, I'm not really much of a.
They're 1-year-old cat on there. They're really energetic. They're really aggressive.
A 1-year-old cat? I love cats. You're talking about cat? I'm a cat freak. Are you kidding?
No, cows. Cattle.
Oh, cows. Yeah. Okay, cat. Well, like I said, I don't know anything about damn farming or, I'm really kind of like I said, I'm a city slicker. But Colton, you are a real American badass. So it's like, what's next, though? These charges? Have they dropped the charges? What's going on? What's the latest with all of this?
No, I oftentimes wonder if I was just sitting in jail and no one came to bail me out, what would happen then, right? Would they go ahead and adjudicate my charges? Would they bring me before a judge? They did give me a court date. My attorney showed up to that court date. I told them they could find me in the Senate chamber because that's where I was compelled to be by law. And then now they don't know what to do. So the Fulton County Solicitor's Office, remember, it's a misdemeanor, so it didn't go to Fani Willis. She only does the felonies.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord.
Certainly. But they've passed it off to the Georgia Prosecutorial Council, which basically is this council that says, hey, do we want to dish this off to another prosecutor or not? And, going to be sending them a letter. Hopefully they dismiss the charges because they're completely unconstitutional. But ultimately, what I would like to see is the U.S. Department of Justice under Leo 2.0 to come in and do some sniffing around in Georgia, because we've had a lot of civil rights violations. There's a lot of corruption, especially when it comes to Fani Willis. And ultimately, it's going to take the federal government to show the force of good governance here in Georgia, because we've got so much corruption.
What? And you're right. And I have no doubt in my mind that 2020 was stolen. And I think it's obvious, like if you look at the statistic, that Donald Trump, when it came to in-person voting, won all 50 states, even the most liberal states. And then when it came to mail-in ballots, Joe Biden won all 50 states, no matter how conservative a state it was. So I thought that would open the door to a lot of fraud. And obviously Georgia, the Atlanta area, was rife with this fraud. So do you think these people will get exposed, Colton, or will, now that Trump's back in office, will he just kind of be like, maybe this is a good thing? And in a way, this was almost a good thing that Trump. Now looking back, and I was so depressed and so sad in 2020, but in a way, it's almost kind of better that he had those 4 years off and everybody could see how dumb Biden was. And now we can appreciate Trump even more. So it really works out for Trump. But do you think we'll get vengeance for what happened in 2020, especially in your state of Georgia?
Yeah, it's only going to happen if we do something about it now. I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of people were just so happy and so grateful that Donald Trump is president that we're just kind of sitting back in our recliners and relaxing. But the rhinos still exist. The corruption still exists. And that's why we're going to have to get out there and continue to expose them. What's really interesting about my ordeal 2 weeks ago was basically it forces everybody in the legislature to take a side. And it's such a simple side. Either you're for tyranny or you're against tyranny, right? And if you're not going to
but Colton, they should all be standing up that no speaker can limit a state senator from the. I mean, this just doesn't. Why aren't they all on your side? Because this rule could be used against them. I mean, how short-sighted is that, Colton?
No, absolutely. I mean, you think about all the senators who walked right past me as they're seeing me get assaulted right there, and they didn't speak out. Think about, I even reminded those state troopers, they all swore an oath to the Constitution to uphold and to protect it. It's very clear that I have a constitutional obligation to be there in attendance. So it's such blatant tyranny. And I think it's an embarrassment for, it made international news. It made news in Europe. It made news
it was a huge deal. It was super viral. I mean, hundreds of millions of views. I saw it everywhere.
Yeah. The reason why I believe it went international is because the international media was telling folks, hey, America is supposed to be the land of the free, but here it's not. So
I think people though, Colton, don't you think people are starting to realize that America is not the land of milk and honey that people say it is? Even though I see all these damn protesters, I'm about to go to one tomorrow. They're all burning American flags while waving like Mexican flags or Venezuelan flags. It's like, if you love that country so much, why don't you go back there? I mean, I'm not even trying to sound racist. I mean, I know you can only say so much. You are an elected official, but it's just the hypocrisy just kills me.
We see the exact same thing in Georgia. There's protests all across the state. We have more than 1 million illegals in the state of Georgia. And you're right. They're flying flags that are not American flags. And, they're demanding.
Burning the American ones. Right. I mean, give me a break.
Absolutely. No, I've got here in Atlanta, I've got some neighbors up the street here, and they've got their Canadian flag above the American flag, and we're right here in downtown Atlanta. It's ridiculous.
Well, they can go to Canada and they can get free assisted suicide if they have like a hurt ankle there. It's crazy. Canada is insane. But Colton, now tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get elected as a senator, as a young man like yourself? I mean, that had to be an uphill battle. And I think that's probably why they don't like you, is because you are a firebrand, conservative, young person. This is a good old boys club, right?
Oh, yeah, certainly so. I mean, I'm the youngest senator by, I think, like 5 years or something like that. They're just a bunch of old guys who, maybe they got elected, in the early 2000s when maybe things were a little bit more milk and honey. But they are completely disconnected with where we are as a society and what needs to be legislated for right now. When I was a senator who exposed the illegal immigrants that were coming into the Atlanta airport last year. I was channeling my inner James O'Keefe, went in, got some undercover video, and these guys didn't know what to do. And it's like, guys, the federal government is no longer enforcing the law. That means we as state legislators are going to have to figure out how to protect our citizens and our sovereignty ourselves, because I know you guys have depended on the federal government for years and years, but the federal government's not helping us right now. They're hindering us. They're literally flying in illegals into our city and dumping them out on our streets. What are we going to do about it? These old guys they're deer in the headlights.
They don't even care. And, the federal government is so incompetent. The only thing, I mean, the state government's incompetent too. I think you would admit that, but especially the federal government. I mean, they can't get anything right. Like, I really don't even know what the federal government actually gets right. But, Colton, like this story, you're in an uphill battle. So what is it like when you walk around? I mean, are they all kind of eyeing you? I mean, what are the vibes now, for lack of a better question, when you're there and you're voting and you're doing stuff?
Well, I would tell all your viewers in politics, if you are not feared, you are not respected. And I think all of them look and they're like, if he's willing to walk into 18 state troopers and defend his obligation to go to, support the Constitution, then what is he willing to do on other issues? I've never felt such respect in that Capitol that I have in the last week or so. People certainly take
really. Oh, so you're telling me the respect is up. So, and you were talking earlier about the split. So are a lot of people on your side now, Colton? So is this not all doom and gloom? Is there some positive? Is there some positivity out of all this?
Well, I mean, the positivity of it is, you kind of get to see a little bit more clearly who people are, and that obviously makes legislating a lot easier when people aren't necessarily faking what they really believe in. So you don't have to step on landmines, if you will. But
what in Georgia is everybody? I mean, are they just all rhinos though? I mean, are you learning anything you didn't already? Yeah, no. I mean, are you learning anything really that you didn't already know in a way after all this?
I guess what I'm trying to say, Alex, is they're exposing themselves to their own constituents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's also forcing them. Think about this, like John Burns, he's the Speaker of the House. He's the guy who had me arrested, right?
Mm-hmm.
He killed Save Girls Sports legislation last year, which is basically.
So he likes transgenders like that? No, wow.
The first transgender to pray over the Georgia General Assembly last year. First time it's ever happened.
Was it a transgender priest or something? What was it? I mean,
how bigger than me, Alex, dressed in a dress. Okay. And that's who this guy is, the guy who had me arrested. But you know what? He's feeling so much heat from America First MAGA patriots right now that all of a sudden he fully supports common sense legislation like Save Girls Sports. He's also.
But now he changed his mind. But wait, this guy's name's John Park. Is his name? What is his name?
John Burns. He's the guy who had me.
John Burns. Everybody that's watching this right now, go find John Burns on any social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, I don't care, and go call him out. If you're watching this right now, go send a message to John Burns. It doesn't matter. Even if he gets 20 messages, it'll feel like 200. So go say something negative. Go put him in his place. Okay, excuse me. Sorry to interrupt you, Colton.
Yeah, Fire Burns. That's what you can post.
Fire Burns. Hashtag Fire Burns, please.
Yeah. But yeah, now he's acting more MAGA, right? So he's got to cover himself in that. So if it takes me getting arrested to get America First common sense legislation passed, then that's what it takes. I'll do it every day.
And, that's how I kind of think of it. If I do go to a protest and a cop arrests me, not that I would obviously comply with a cop, especially at a protest, but it's like, it is what it is when, you sometimes you can get a misdemeanor. And really, like you said, as a senator, they shouldn't have even arrested you for that. They should just write you a summons like you're not going to go to court or, that. So I think that broke the law, but I don't know what kind of punishment it is. And cops do the wrong thing all the time. Like they're listening to the speaker. They think what they're doing is the right thing and they don't give a damn about the Constitution. This is a fact that if you have too high of an IQ that you can't be a cop. Did you know that, Colton? You didn't know that, did you? There's a lawsuit. Let me pull this up. This is a true thing, and it sounds insane. IQ too high to be a cop. A guy had to sue the cops, and they said it was okay. I'm not even kidding. So courts okay barring high IQ cops. This is September 8th, year 2000, ABC News. So a man who's bid to become a police officer was rejected after he scored too high on an intelligence test, has lost an appeal in his federal lawsuit against the city. The Second United States Circuit Court of Appeals in New York upheld the lower court's decision that the city did not discriminate against Robert Jordan because the same standards were applied to everyone who took the test. This kind of puts an official face of discrimination, yada, yada, yada. You can read about it. And Jordan is a 49-year-old college graduate, took the exam in 1996, scored 33 points, the equivalent of an IQ of 125. But New London police interviewed only candidates who scored 20 to 27 on the theory that those who scored too high could get bored with police work and leave soon after undergoing costly training. Or maybe they figure out that they don't want to be a sheep, as that's probably what they figure out. And I like law enforcement. I'm not trying to go after law enforcement, but they would arrest anybody that their superior told them to arrest. And that's what happened during COVID. You still constantly see them arresting people for masks and stupid stuff. So I'm not BLM. I'm not anti-police, but the police is also not perfect either. That's why BLM has a following, because people have so much animosity towards the police. So I think what happened to you is a good example of police injustice by actually charging you. I get it. Maybe they throw you out, which is still wrong, because they could argue, oh, maybe cause a disturbance or something. Maybe you could argue that. But arresting you, that is a breach of the Constitution and should be a fireable offense, in my personal opinion.
No, absolutely. I had a state trooper the day before. He came up to me and he said, Colton, I'm going to call in sick tomorrow. He's like, I want absolutely no part of this. I can see what's coming. And that's pretty telling. I mean, I guess the article you just showed kind of explains the officers who arrest me. They probably have a lower IQ when it comes to those types of things. But yeah, let it be an example for any police officer all across the country. When you're giving orders that break the Constitution, the decision is going to be yours at that moment. Do you uphold the oath you swore, or do you follow orders? And ultimately, it's a pretty crazy conspiracy here in Georgia in the sense that the Speaker of the House, this John Burns, remember hashtag Fire Burns?
Fire Burns.
The same county is the hometown, the small South Georgia county that the colonel of the Georgia State Patrol is from. So
they're real buds. They're really good buddies.
Buds,
wow.
Yeah. And his father is also the chairman of public safety in Burns's House of Representatives. So
John Burns' dad. So John Burns is a pretty connected guy. So you're going after a tough person, but that actually makes you, I'm not trying to kiss your butt, that makes you a hero and not a coward, because most people with this guy, he's so connected, he's a speaker, I'm not going to go after him. I'm not even going to get his attention. And you're not afraid to do that. That says a lot about you and your character.
Only two things I'm afraid of, Alex. There are only two things, and that's God and electricity. I know they're both there, and I can't see either one of them.
That's true. I'm almost ready, though, for Jesus to come back. At this point, things are getting so crazy. Things are weird. Okay, so Colton, you got this legal conundrum. They haven't dropped it yet. I mean, we can keep on, hashtagging or rehashing. Excuse me, I got a Twitter brain. Right. We can keep on talking about this, but I want to get your opinion on, I guess the real dope. I always like to ask people, about conspiracies and this and that. So, do you think we'll ever actually get the Epstein list, in your opinion, Colton? I know that's a controversial subject, but like some of these conspiracies, how he died and stuff, like, what do you think about that? I mean, obviously, do you believe in government corruption? Because I'm a full tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. I can get really deep in the woods. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't believe in not one conspiracy theory, then I don't trust you. The Epstein list, though, it's going to take some courage, is what it's going to take. You've got a lot of powerful people that could probably help us get that Epstein list, but they are scared for their safety, and it's going to take courage. People. I mean, all you have to do is think about those people who raided Normandy Beach, right? Who literally were seeing their brothers fall down right in front of them, but they kept charging, right? Americans have fought for freedom for generations, and they have risked everything for it. But yet we live in a society today where people are just scared to death to even speak out on a microphone. If you're afraid to just speak, you obviously, Alex, are not afraid to speak. And
I encourage people to go speak at more public meetings. You tease me like, is this some sort of public meeting? No, and that's why I always appreciate any politician that will hear me out, because like these politicians don't like me. But when I went up and I spoke serious at public meetings, that they didn't listen. They didn't care. I was talking about COVID and how they're shutting down the public restrooms at the park. I'm like, what? This and that. But then when I started acting like a goofball and potentially embarrassing them, they started paying attention. And, that's just kind of how I got well known. And that's what I noticed to be most effective when I was trying to get their attention for my cause. So my point is, more people need to speak up. And that's why I'm not trying to go back to you are fearless walking into that building, knowing that half the people in there probably hate you, and probably half of the rhinos, conservatives hate you too. It is hard, but most people don't have that courage. And I wish more people did. And that's why I always encourage, like, I love when people say to me, oh, Alex, I watch your content, I like it. But my favorite thing is I like when somebody says, Alex, because you went and spoke at a city meeting, you look stupid, I went and did it. And so that's what I like. So Colton, have you seen that effect with you speaking out? You got America First, young movement? Are you rallying the troops? Like, what is your finger on the pulse? What are you feeling?
Well, I tell you what, is Nick Freitas from Virginia, Virginia delegate Nick. He's a great guy. I hope he's president of the United States one day. He said, courage is contagious, but so is cowardice. Cowardice is contagious as well. So when you run across the hill, you'll probably be surprised at who goes along with you. But I think, Alex, you and we always understand that these people put on their pants in the morning just like we do, right? They're not more important or more powerful in any sense. So they ought to hear us out. And if you think about, all we have to do is run our mouth in a microphone. But if you look back at those Americans who had to run into battle and fight for our freedom, they had the hard job. All we got to do is run our mouth.
I know. I mean, you got it exactly right. It's like we have it so easy. We're literally like tweeting. Those people had it so much harder. And, life is not fair. I'm learning that. And for you, though, Colt, like, what are your political aspirations now? I mean, being one of the youngest guys there, being the youngest guy, like, what are you when you look at your goals, I'm sure you have goals. You seem like a very smart man. What is your top goal on that list? If you can, I don't know if saying it jinxes you, but I guess, yeah. What is your a goal in life, Colton?
Alex, I just want to live in a free society. I'm a mountain man. My family has lived on the same mountain for 5 generations, and I want to see the next 5 generations be able to live on that same mountain. And right now, that's in peril. That's being threatened. When we're having to debate whether men can play in girls' sports in the Georgia
Not
Senate.
anymore. Wait, not anymore though. I mean, now, I mean, is Trump's federal thing gonna supersede the state level, or will the state still go against the federal government, Colton, on all that trans sports stuff?
I've been focused on what's going on here in Georgia. I haven't really read what that executive order was that Trump signed two days ago, I guess. But recognize, you remember Riley Gaines, the swimmer, the national championship. All that happened in Atlanta. It happened at Georgia Tech. So we're kind of the epicenter for where all this got started. And like I say, that our state is at threat for good common sense, liberty, and freedom. And I don't know if I serve as a state senator, run for higher office, or what it is, but my goal is to make sure that the state of Georgia remains free, because if it doesn't, I'm going to have to move to Texas. And, if
you don't want to move to Texas, you want to stay in Georgia. Trust me, Texas is great, but I mean, a lot, even more illegals here. But Colton, okay, before you go, is Georgia is legal? Is marijuana legal there? In Texas, it's not legal. Is it legal in Georgia? I don't even know the laws. It's not, right?
Well, it's kind of quasi legal.
Yeah.
If you have a camera when you're growing it, and you give the Georgia, I think it's like $250,000 for a bond, and the GBI gets to watch your little area that you're growing your plant in, and it's got to be checked on at different times, and then you can only sell it to these certain people who also gave the state like $250,000 or something, and then you can sell it only to this small group of people that have this certain license. Or this medical condition. So basically, I think there's like 12 medical conditions in Georgia in which you can have medical marijuana, but ultimately there's no legal way to obtain it. So you ultimately commit a felony for doing, medical marijuana.
Even with a medical, even though it's considered medical, because that's how it started in California. California had medical marijuana like forever ago, like over 20 years ago. And that's how it worked. It was not legal, but you could go get a card. And that's how, like you said, you get these special licenses. So this person can be the cultivator and this person can be the middleman. I mean, it's just legal drug dealing. So has that affected the state? Is everybody high? Or, I mean, that at least that puts in a little guardrail. It's better than just being open, right?
I don't think the people who actually really do need cannabis even can get cannabis right now.
But you can go to those doctors things in California. You can say you can't sleep at night. You can say you're anxious when they'll give it to you. They can give it for mental health stuff. They give a kid puberty blockers. I think anybody can get marijuana if you go to the right Haitian doctor.
Yeah, well, in Georgia, you could be on your deathbed and have one of the legal medical conditions to have it, but you still can't get it. That's what I'm saying.
So they don't have any dispensaries. They don't even have dispensaries if you're medical there.
I guess we technically do, but this is a law that was passed, I believe, in 2018 or 2019, and I still don't think we've got it figured out yet. So
I know I'm asking a lot about weed, but it's weird. And this is the other thing. This is probably why society, I just saw this study, how marijuana has permanent effects on your brain. Like just because you stop smoking, your brain doesn't heal itself after the effects of marijuana, which was, I've done a lot of marijuana in college at LSU. I'm a little bit of a party animal, but I try to abstain from it. But everybody smokes weed now, Colton. It's terrible. All these kids on all these vapes, like, when I was in college, it was a lot different. You had some grass. It was like Reggie Miller. You rolled it up. You smoked a joint. I'm not trying to sound like I'm some old guy, but now all these kids are vaping electronic marijuana and mushroom pins and all this. The future is very dark, in my opinion, and I hate to be so negative, but like, what do you think about the futures before you go? I mean, can we save a society that's hooked on pornography and vaping THC? I mean, how do we save society other than God? I mean, we'd like to say, we have a godly society, but I'm talking about stuff that you could put in, or somebody, a human could actually do to try to make the world not such a dark place in the near future.
Yeah, Alex, I was fortunate enough to go to the Make Europe Great Again conference this past year. And what we recognized, these are European legislators But the globalists have the same agenda anywhere in the world. And the globalist agenda is ultimately to destroy a free society. And how do you do that? Well, if you can destroy the family structure, the first unit of society, right, then you're not going to be reproducing anymore. You're not going to be building a new society. And then if you're not doing that, you just flood the country with illegals who have no idea of what it means to be an American. And then your society is completely corrupted, right? Then you bring on the THC or whatever it may be. And
fentanyl, horrible. I mean, everybody's on drugs, more drug overdoses than we've ever had on record.
Yeah, and we've got to recognize that these globalists are not our friends, and their agenda items do not help us. I mean, you look at the smart cities and some of the different surveillance things that go along with that. We've got some legislation we're fighting here in Georgia that we want to. It's all in the name of school safety, but it's going to put every single student in a database, and it's going to basically put a permanent record of any type of mental illness that they may have. It's all straight out of the United Nations. We're having to fight globalists each and every day.
Every kid's going to have a damn mental illness too. You know what I mean? Just to keep
Right.
them, just to kind of protect them. So when a kid does do something terrible, they're like, oh, it's kind of like how the FBI just magically talks to all these people. All these shooters are magically on the FBI's radar. So you're right. We're fighting globalism. A lot of people tell you that globalism's good. And that's, I think, the divide is that we got to convince people that globalism is bad, and that being and that you use this word, I'm sure you've been accused of using this word, a nationalist. They've made that such a derogatory term for saying that you love your country, and that shouldn't be a derogatory term. So my point is, loving our country is what makes this country great, but bringing in a million people or millions and millions of people that hate this country, it's just a losing proposition. So Colton, before you go, how can people support you and find you? I was looking for all your social media. I don't even see you on. Are you not on X and Twitter?
Yeah.
Are you not on Elon's brain thing?
No, it's real Colton Moore, just like real Donald Trump on X.
Real Colton Moore. Okay, I'm going to put it on here. Okay, so you are on X. I just couldn't find it. They got you shadow banned on there, Colton.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I did all that myocarditis COVID post back in Twitter's day, and I don't know if Elon's ever scrubbed that from my account, but you can always go to my website, coltonmoore.com. And Alex, before we go I just want to personally invite you to my biggest fundraiser each and every year. It's a machine gun shoot where we shoot full auto World War II machine guns. We've got a Thompson 45, like the Mafia Uzi gun, that we're going to be shooting. And we have a big time shoot off, probably 50 pounds of tannerite or so. And we do that every year in the fall. And maybe some of your listeners would like to come too. So
yes, and guys, we're going to put a link to Colton's website and to his social media. Guys, I want to be there. Sign me up. Listen, I might be a little bit of a city slicker, but trust me, I love guns. And I like explosions as well in a safe environment. Senator Moore, thank you for blessing us with your time. I know you're a busy man, and I look forward to seeing you in Georgia in the fall, and anything I can ever do to help you guys. And go fire Burns. He sucks. Everybody go to him and leave a negative comment. Don't be threatening or weird, but just, make sure he knows that he sucks. And is that it, Colton? Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
That's all good, man. I'm honored to be on Prime Time. 99. Go insane.
You're the man. I'm honored to be friends with an actual real politician that's not a robot bought and sold. I'm not just saying that. I've been so nice, but dude, all these politicians, when you meet them in real life, they're not even there. They're like, it's insane how these people get elected and get to stay elected. It's ridiculous at every level, from a city council, mayor, all the way up to not President Trump, but Mike Pence, the vice president. That guy sucks. That just shows you a guy with no personality can make it all the way to the vice president. God bless America. All right, guys, everybody go follow Colton. Fire Burns. Talk to you soon, Colton. Have a good one.
Thanks, Alex. You too, man.